All right, today we are jumping into two really powerful ways to think about building software: test-driven development and behavior-driven development. And we're going to do it by telling a story of two different creators: the architect, who builds from the inside out, and the storyteller, who builds from the outside in. Let's get into it. You know, at the core of it all, this is the one question every software team is trying to answer. How do we make sure our stuff actually works? How do we stop bugs from ever showing up in the first place and build something that people can count on? This is exactly the problem that both TDD and BDD are trying to solve. But as you'll see, they come at it from completely different directions. So, first up, let's talk about the architect. This is our metaphor for test-driven development, or TDD. Now, the architect is totally obsessed with the foundation, the internal structure, the logic that holds the whole thing up. Their whole philosophy is that if every single brick is laid perfectly, then the entire building is guaranteed to be strong. It's all about building from the inside out. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds kind of backwards, right? Before you even write a single line of actual functional code, you first write a little automated test that describes what the code is supposed to do. And because the code doesn't exist yet, that test is of course guaranteed to fail. But that simple little act forces you to think really hard about the requirements up front, basically building a safety net before you even start construction. And that brings us to the heart of TDD, this little loop it follows called red-green refactor. It's super simple. First, you're in the red phase. You write a test and it fails. That's a good thing. It proves the feature isn't there yet. Then, you jump into the green phase. You write the absolute bare minimum code you need to make that test pass. No bells and whistles, just get it working. Finally, you refactor. Now you can go back, clean up the code, and make it better, all while knowing your test has your back. You just repeat that loop over and over. So, who exactly is this architect? Well, TDD is a developer's tool through and through. It's written in code for code. Its whole world is the internal logic, those little individual pieces we call units. And its superpower? Finding bugs at the earliest possible moment, making sure every single component works perfectly on its own before it gets hooked into the bigger system. Okay, so now let's completely switch gears and meet our other creator, the storyteller. This is the world of behavior-driven development, or BDD. See, the storyteller doesn't really care about the pipes and the wiring behind the walls, at least not at first. They start with a totally different question. What story is the user trying to live out here? BDD completely flips the script. Instead of starting with tiny bits of code logic, it starts with, human behavior. The tests, which we call scenarios, just describe how the app should act from the user's perspective. And this is a huge shift in focus. We stop talking about how the code works and start talking about what the user experiences. It gets everyone on the same page from day one, which saves a ton of headaches later. And just look at the language. This tells you everything you need to know. That's not code. It's just plain, simple English. It reads like a little story or a set of instructions. Anyone, and I mean anyone, from a product manager to a developer to a client, can look at this and know exactly what's supposed to happen. No confusion. And that's exactly why the storyteller isn't just one person. It's a role the whole team can play. BDD is all about collaboration. Because it's written in this simple, common language, it acts as a bridge between the technical folks and the business folks. And if you're a tester, this should look incredibly familiar. It's basically just a really well-structured manual test case. So we've got the architect who's focused on the code's internal strength, and the storyteller who's focused on the user's external journey. They have totally different methods, different tools, and different starting points. But here's the crucial thing to remember. They are both working toward the exact same goal: building awesome, high-quality software that doesn't break. Let's put them side by side and you'll really see the difference. TDD is all about that internal code logic, spoken in a programming language, and it's mainly for developers. BDD, on the other hand, is about the user's experience, spoken in simple English, and it's for the entire team: testers, business analysts, you name it. One's an inside job, the other's an outside job. Okay, so if BDD is all about writing these stories, what language do we use? It has a funny name, Gherkin, but seriously, don't let the name scare you. It's probably one of the simplest and most structured languages you'll ever see. It's really just a handful of keywords that give our user stories a nice, clean format that everyone can follow. And the structure is just beautiful in its simplicity. It's all built around these three little words. Given sets the scene. It's the setup, the context.
When describes the specific thing the user does, the action, and then states what should happen as a result, the expected outcome. Given, when, then. That's it. That's the core formula.
So let's look at a real-world example you've probably done 1,000 times. Given I'm on a product page. Okay, got it. That's our setup. When I click Add to Cart, that's my action, then the product should appear in the cart. That's the result I expect. See? It's a complete testable little story about what the user wants to do. Okay, so we've met our architect and our storyteller. We get their tools and how they think. So now the big question is, which path is right for you? Especially if you're a tester trying to figure out where to go next. This is a huge question for so many people. You already have this deep, intuitive understanding of how real people use software. You know how to break it from a user's point of view. Now you want to get into automation. So where do you start? The heavy-duty coding world of TDD or the story-driven world of BDD? Look, for a manual tester who's moving into automation, the answer is incredibly clear. BDD is your starting point. It's a natural, logical first step that builds directly on the skills you already have. And here's why it just makes sense. You already think in terms of user journeys and test cases. BDD just gives you a structure for it. It lets you use your superpower, understanding the user, and turn it into something the whole team can rally around. Most importantly, it's the foundation for automation tools like Cucumber, which are literally designed to read these gherkin stories and turn them into automated tests. It's the perfect bridge. At the end of the day, a great software team needs both the architect and the storyteller. They're both absolutely vital. But as you think about your own path, ask yourself, where do your strengths really shine? Are you the architect, making sure every internal piece is absolutely perfect? Or are you the storyteller, making sure the user's journey is a successful and happy one? The choice of where you begin is all yours.